Dear family members, my pranams to you. In olden days, after 1947, after India winning the freedom, majority of the intellectuals, scientists and scholars, they tried their level best for creating an environment of self-respect and self-esteem among the young generations all over India, particularly the students. They tried this process by educating, by demonstrating and by informing the glorious past of India. Unfortunately, that trend continued for a short period. After that, the leadership of the intellectuals, the scientists and some of the scholars took by the leftist, the atheist and the so-called radicals and the so-called progressives. They believed and they forced others to believe the Nehruvian theory that in India we had only philosophy and religion, maybe little bit science, but never existed in India the science and the technology. We had to borrow all the scientific and technological concept from the West, developed countries. The Nehru and Nehruvian followers, Nehruvian family, continued to impose such a wrong impression in the mind of intellectuals, scientists and scholars. And anyone even proving that we discovered Pythagoras theorem, we discovered many theorems. In India we had the perfect astronomical knowledge. In India we discovered the plastic surgery and our glorious scientific and technological heritage in different areas. If we start explaining, or if one group of scientists or scholars start explaining to others, these so-called pseudo-intellectuals start screaming, shouting that if we claim that in India we had all these things, that will create problem. I do not know what problem can be created, what problem will be created, or what will be the problem if we say the truth about our heritage. If I say that Grigory's theorem is discovered in India in 1428 by Pudumana Somayaji, and it is written as the 28th theorem in the 6th chapter of Karanavaddadi, and this is the theorem. Vargair yujamba viganair niregair vargi kritayir varjida yukma vargaihi pyasam jasharginam vibhajat palam swam vyasayitrinikine paridistadasyat. And if I explain the meaning of that also, then the date of writing the book Karanavaddadi with the solid proof why these so-called intellectuals and the pseudo-scientists are getting worried and saying that it can create problem. What can create really the problem? If truth is put in front of the intellectuals, and many electronic media and national and regional newspapers also side with the so-called pseudo-intellectuals and say that we should not claim anything, that ours we should not claim anything that we had in India. We should not claim that the Pythagoras theorem, Dirgha Chaturasrasya Kshamaya Rajjuhu Parshvamani Tiryanmani Cha Yat Pradak Pode Kuritastad Ubhayam Karoti. This is the Pythagoras theorem, written by Bauddhayana not less than 2500 years ago in Bauddhayana Silpa Sutra. If we explain that with the solid proof showing the book to them, they will say it will create problem. And why the problem is created, I do not know. Whether the base of the intellectuals will be getting diluted or it will get eroded. Why such a thought is coming, and why the newspapers who stand for patriotism and who stand for development and who cry that they are there in an unbiased way to protect India and everything connected with India, and day and night they are the watchdogs for Indian democracy and everything connected with India, why they are siding with the so-called progressives and radicals in such a way that they come forward for denigrating India. The ignorant people shout against the knowledgeable people. What they say, what they think, what they studied and what they think they are good and correct, that only should be accepted by the society. All other things are retrograding or superstitions. They declare that we should not claim anything that we have got in ancient India. Such a culture has been created by the media, atheist, so-called progressives and radicals. And now again about the aeroplane. The Bharadwaja's Vimana Tantra book is available. It has got nothing to do with mythology. It has got nothing to do with the Puranas, epics, Vedas, nor Upanishads. It is an independent book, independent Sanskrit book, starting with the line Desha Deshandaram Yaddat Loka Lokandaram Tada Dvipa Dvipandaram Jaiva Yo Ambare Gendu Marhati Savimana Iti Prokta Gada Shastra Vidambaraihi. The vehicle which moves in the sky, used for travelling from one island to another island, one country to another country, and one loka to another loka, that is known as Vimana and said by the experts in the space science. It can be agreed that none of such an equipment or instrument or vehicle existed in India. But reading the translation of the Sanskrit book Vimana Tantra, it will not allow the whole sky to fall down. If somebody is telling such a book existed in India, this is the English translation of that book. ISRO got it done into English translation, and I have got the copy of that. Indian Institute of Scientific Heritage has published that book, and at least feeling a sense of pride that our forefathers have written a book. Keep away whether the Vimana or aeroplane was existed or not. You know, in IIT Delhi, Professor N.G. Dongre has really tried to remake Bharadwaja's spectrophotometer, and he has patented it, many of the components, and that book also has been published by Indian Institute of Scientific Heritage. We have published it. And why Indian pseudo-intellectuals are so much afraid of declaring that these many things existed in India, and independent Sanskrit language, English, Sanskrit language, scientific and technological books existed in India, and their research results are appearing, were appearing, have been appearing for the last 50 years in the Indian Journal of History of Science, IJHS, Indian Journal of History of Science, published by Indian National Science Academy, Bahadur Shah Safar Marg, New Delhi 2. All those books are available even today. and many reprints have been sold. And the so-called intellectuals, without even showing the minimum courtesy of opening that book or going through that book and closing their eyes and declaring that nothing existed in India, and if we say that something existed in India, that will be dangerous, that will be bad. Who are these people to tell that it is dangerous? What will be the danger that can come out if we say what we have got? So, India is being killed or butchered by the so-called progressives who fight against America, who fight against England, and who fight against the multinational companies of the Europe, at the same time declare that all the inventions and discoveries came from the West, nothing existed in India. One type of intellectual slavery towards the West and intellectual corruption towards the Indian knowledge. And underlying all these thoughts, they feel that if we claim that some of these discoveries and inventions were made in India, they think that RSS and BJP will be benefited out of that. Any words connected with Indian heritage has been directly linked with RSS and BJP, and they think that it will lead to communal disharmony. So telling India is great, telling Indian rishis are great, and telling that Indian heritage has got science and technological knowledge, if that will take India to communalism, what these 70 years the so-called Congress and Nehruvian rulers were doing, merely telling one country is great will create communalism in India. And who told these people to give all Indian heritage to RSS and BJP? If tricolor belongs to India, the same tricolor is used by Congress people, Congress party. So if saffron is taken by RSS and BJP, that saffron is not created by these two people, group of people, and why not? Why not take the saffron as the great emblem of the sacrifice created and propagated by the Indian rishis? And why like that the Sanskrit and Indian scientific and technological heritage cannot be taken by the other political parties and say nicely that we have got a good scientific and technological heritage? All these to be looked into further detail. They are no way connected with Puranas and Idihasas and Vedas and Upanishads. They are independent Sanskrit text containing perfect science, may not be at par with the modern, but still can be elevated to the level of modern science and technology. Looking back and taking the good from the back, that we failed and we are failing and we worry and we are scared whether the BJP or RSS will get benefit out of saying we have got a heritage. And remember that our heritage and our knowledge, many Westerners are patenting. At that time also we shout against it. When we are not interested in our heritage, then why should we bother about our knowledge getting patented by the foreigners? Our Ayurveda was earlier treated as black magic. Our yoga was declared earlier by the so-called progressives of India as another way of Indian religion and spirituality. Now our Sanskrit, our yoga, our Ayurveda, our Vastu Vidya, our part of Jyotisha and our Vedic mathematics, our music, our textile industry, our civil engineering knowledge existed in Kumbhakonam and Suchindra and many South Indian temples and North Indian temples carved out of granite or marble. These civil engineering technologies are living examples of the ancient Indian technology, like Delhi Iron Pillar, Dhar Iron Pillar, and a variety of the surgery equipments explained by Sushruta. These are all available even today, which we are not ready to accept, and we want to reject it and think that that will be creating a problem. What will be the problem created by the truth put forward? And remember that in 1932, when the first plastic surgeons international conference held in Paris, 1932, the invocation address was reading the Sushruta Samhita's chapter containing plastic surgery. In 1932, the Paris people did that. The Sushruta Samhita's particular chapter explaining plastic surgery has been read. But now, we say claiming that plastic surgery existed in India will create a problem. I wonder and we wonder if these pseudo-intellectuals and the so-called scientists and the so-called radicals, if would not have existed in India and if would have got wiped out in the tsunami, India would have developed far better, at least during the last 70 years since independence. We want to denigrate our motherland, our culture, our heritage, and we expect that the younger generation and others also denigrate our culture, and we want to denigrate our mother and our motherland, and others also should follow them or support them, otherwise it will be dangerous. It is as dangerous as the tsunami or the earthquake, or it is just like the tornado blasted in Visakhapatnam. And why the media is taking part with the so-called intellectuals who have been proved completely wrong, and the generation, the so-called radical scientists and the pseudo-scientists, and then their generation itself almost got wiped out. Now the new generation who are feeling the sense of pride about India and Indian heritage are coming up, and these dogs are barking when the caravans move towards the market. But remember that the caravans and the bullock carts will move towards the market. India could survive 650 years of the atrocities of the foreign Muslim rule and 250 years of atrocities of the Dutch, French, Portuguese, Spanish and the English people. And also India could withstand the 60 years of Nehruvian family atrocities of denigrating India also. And India will come up, India will arise, India will awake, and India will reach the target, the set goal. India will definitely become the Jagat Guru or the spiritual and scientific teacher of the world. And I personally happen to visit and deliver lecture on Indian scientific and technological heritage in many Canadian and US universities, including UK universities, where those country pupils, scholars and professors were ready and eager to accept, learn really Indian heritage. And I have compiled a very big book, Indian Scientific Heritage, and for which I got a Doctor of Literature degree from UGC, and also that book has been published with the Indian Council of Historical Research Assistants, and we are distributing to people for the last 12 years, and we have claimed these are all Indian discoveries. Unfortunately, the so-called pseudo-intellectuals think that these are all very bad and dangerous. If we say we are great, if we say we are good, if we say we are famous, if we say our great rishis have discovered all these things, they think that India will go to dogs. But remember that these scientists, so-called pseudo-scientists and so-called pseudo-progressives, they started taking themselves into dogs. India will survive. India survived the torture of British people as happened in Andaman, and India will survive the intellectual torture of these pseudo-scientists. I am very sure about it. We have uploaded all this knowledge and published and printed and circulated all this knowledge without false claiming anything. I am very sure that Indians have accepted all these things. Indians will stand with these things. And also I request that the scientists and intellectuals, the real scientists and real intellectuals and real progressive people should never false claim that all our Puranas have got the scientific and technological knowledge. It is not in the Puranas, it is not in the Vedas, it is not in the Itihasas we have got science, it is in the pure scientific literature we have got all these things. Kindly look in detail, and whenever we listen Sanskrit words, don't think that Sanskrit is only present in Vedas and Puranas. Independent Sanskrit language literature are also available, where drama is there, novels are there, history is there, music is there, dance is there, economics is there, the science of archery is there, and science of health is there, science of civil engineering is there, linguistic is there, and visions and views and philosophies are there, which are different from Puranas, Itihasas and Vedas. Just like any language has got different type of literature containing different type of knowledge, Sanskrit also does have that. Sanskrit has that, and Sanskrit is a rich literature having all branches of knowledge. Without knowing that, if we claim that any Sanskrit line, if we chant or tell, people start interpreting that it is from Purana or Vedas. Sanskrit is an independent. Say for example, Dhamanyo Rektavaginaha Chadurvimshadiradita Kulyabhiriva Kedara Astabhir Deho Vivardade. This is from Sangeeta Ratnagaram. Sangeeta Ratnagaram written by Shargadhara, 9th century. The book is available even today, in which it is mentioned that blood vessels are, major blood vessels are 24 in number, and they take the blood to different parts of the body, just like a tube take water to the paddy field. This is the comparison given. Kulyabhiriva Kedara. Kulya means a tube, Kedara means paddy field. Rastabhir Deho Vivardade. The water is taken, the blood is taken for the enrichment of the body and the health of the body. Like that we have got very many explanations. Closing my eyes and telling that it is midnight is the culture of the so-called pseudo-intellectuals and scientists. I wish the young generation, I wish the scientists and the real meritorious people will be looking into this aspect. I am ready to come if the distance is not that much, and if each minute is utilized properly for explaining without any book in my hand. And I have delivered 2 lectures in IIT Chennai, which was extremely well appreciated. I was fortunate enough to deliver these messages in Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore and IIT Delhi, IIT Guwahati, not false claiming but claiming and informing with quotations what we had and what are surviving and where they have got and when this book has been written. I am sure that we will see that we are proud of our heritage, whether becoming a CPM member or Congress member or a BJP member or an RSS member or DYFI member is your choice. But denigrating India is not our choice. And as Anandamurthy said, if Modi becomes the Prime Minister, I will leave the country. Unfortunately, he had to die a pathetic death in the Modi's India. He had to die a pathetic death in Modi's India, and people showed the courage to give him the air ticket to go out of India. That is the real courage, guts shown by a group of people by purchasing the real ticket and giving to him to leave India. Whether Modi ruled India or Manmohan Singh ruled India or Narasimha Rao ruled India. India is India, that is our motherland. Rulers may not be our father or mother, it can be anyone, but feeling a sense of pride about our motherland, that is to be inculcated, keeping away the pseudo-intellectuals. And remember that the children, the wife and the relatives of the pseudo-intellectuals, they are all becoming powerful Indian spiritualists and Sanatana Dharma followers, and a majority of them are taking the membership of the ruling party also. and they are screaming for keeping their chair there. Kindly make it a note of that. Thank you very much. My pranams to you.